Hi, I'm Doug, and on behalf of everyone at Worship Musician Magazine, we wanted to put this video together to help churches and creative teams navigate the bumpy road that we're all on during the coronavirus outbreak and the aftermath beyond. And to do that, we've broken this video down into 3 sections. We're going to start off talking about communication because that's so vital in this season. Then we're going to talk about content creation. There are some very interesting opportunities in terms of how we get a chance to redefine the way we do church, and that's pretty exciting. And finally, the heartbeat behind all of this. The coronavirus is a tragedy that has yet to really thoroughly unfold. But more importantly than anything that we can be thinking is what we can be doing. We have the opportunity to be the hands and feet of Jesus with our family, our neighbors, especially the elderly, our church congregations, and the community at large. And this is an opportunity we definitely don't want to miss. Awesome. So let's take a moment and talk about communication. My biggest suggestion with your communication would be this: a high-level strategy with a low level of threshold required to carry that out. Today's date is Thursday, March 12th, pretty early on in this whole thing. So a couple of things that I want you to keep in mind. 3 main layers of communication. Internally with your teams. Email and Planning Center Online are great for that. Then there's communication with your congregation. Whether you've already done this or are about to do this or might want to do it to make things a little bit easier moving forward, my suggestion would be this: send a message to all the different platforms that you reach people on, and then tell them, preferably with a video, that you're going to be reducing the number of main places that you're communicating to a smaller number. Preferably your website, maybe a church app, which is what my church is doing. That makes it a lot easier to have a high-level strategy with a low level of threshold to carry that out. What's great about a website is you can embed your video. You have all the other resources, giving, all those things are right there. Your website was pretty much built for a season like this. Leverage it. Okay, then there's communication to the community at large. That is where Facebook is particularly valuable, but it does have limitations. Facebook is like a press release. It's here today, forgotten tomorrow. So this again is where you kind of go, hey, this is what we want to tell you about today. Maybe we have supplies for the elderly, or maybe we're delivering food to elderly people. We're doing something. Find out more on our website. Website. Can't stress that enough. Okay, content creation. One of my favorite things about this season is it enables us to utilize some of these tools that we see content creators from YouTube and even television bring that stuff into what we're doing at church. There are also some things that we're going to be able to do that we've never been able to do in the past. Tonight, I was at a video shoot for my church, and one of the things that we did was we shot the content in such a way we can potentially make 3 different versions of our Sunday service, and we're going to kind of figure that out in the next couple of days. What the coolest part is that we're thinking about doing something called Family Church. Not only that, having a Family Church Challenge where we ask churches to come together for 4 weeks and watch church as a family. So the deal is, traditionally on Sunday, the kids go off to kids' church, the adults kind of hang out in the main auditorium. What we're going to do with one of these edits, and I think it's going to be the way we're going to roll, is the kids and the adults are going to come together and watch church together. The adults are going to comment about the content that we shot for kids' church, which was really amazingly good. And in turn, the kids are going to get a chance to comment about the stuff that was made for the grown-ups. The conversations that we're going to have are unlike anything that we've traditionally been able to do at church. Tremendously powerful. All right. Before we get to the geeky gear things, I want to talk about some other things that are going to be really valuable for you to think about. First of all, if you haven't started streaming before, don't start in this season. It is a cantankerous thing. Wait until you totally own it before rolling it out. Lots of other things you can do. Now, if your church has already been streaming, your pastor is used to speaking to a room filled with people where potentially there's a camera in the back of the room or there's some other cameras, but they're engaging a room filled with people. That is markedly different than having a video production crew taking a set and having a pastor who's used to engaging a room full of people sit here and have to stare face to face with a camera. It can be really intimidating and it takes some time to get used to, unless you do a couple of things, which I like to think of as flipping the script. When I look at a camera, I actually know that, kind of unlike a Sunday morning where you can only have so much eye contact with people before it gets a little weird, I can look into the camera and I'm looking directly into your eyes. That's incredibly powerful for a pastor to be able to speak directly to you through this camera, through the internet, and actually have a message that resonates in your heart. That's very powerful. Now, that said, there are a couple of things that aid that process. Smiling with the eyes, that does a lot. One of the things we've been working with in the background here is actually watching video with the volume off. You will learn more about your strange mannerisms watching things with sound off than, honestly, it's been huge for us. We've learned so much. All right, the other thing is this gesticulating thing. Some people have a tendency to do the same motion over and over when they start the sentences. They do this. One of the great things about just watching with the sound down is you begin to kind of go, oh, I do the same thing over and over. Let me find a couple of different gestures, talk about the heart, talking about you, talking about God, making sure that we're not just doing the same gestures over and over. Again, having the sound off is a great way to get there. Speaking of sound, that gets me to my little show and tell microphone dealie. I don't see microphones. I see different tools for content creation and different types of content creation. The Shure MV88 Plus, I think about a pastor visiting old folks who need supplies and documenting that with permission, of course. I also see the pastor having this back on their desk, reflecting on that experience. These things shoot at 4K now. The audio, thanks to the microphone, is phenomenal. It comes with a free bundled app. It comes with this very cool little Manfrotto stand. These things are awesome. RE320. You're probably used to seeing sportscasters with those silly headphones. They could learn a thing or two from us. That looks so dumb, but they're talking to each other quite often via something like Skype. Imagine that your pastor has a pastor friend that's in New York or Italy. Imagine them having a Skype call and then recording that and then being able to have that part of your Sunday YouTube presentation. That's very powerful. It's not something that we normally think about doing. It would be a great addition. This guy right here is a Zoom handheld recorder. Say, for example, you send your worship team down to the local nightclub that's got this amazing lights and sound and all that, and that place, by the way, will be completely deserted. You can capture 2-track audio off the board directly into this thing via the combi jacks. That is to say, 1/4-inch and XLR jacks. These are great. I have a lot of experience using these. I've never had one fail. Shotgun mics. This one here, the one that's up there, I am a huge fan of shotgun mics. I am not a fan of lavaliers for a couple of reasons. If you have somebody with a necklace and a lavalier, you're going to hear potentially every time they move. The other thing is when your head goes towards your chest, they get louder and bassier because of what's called the proximity effect. Shotguns are awesome. Generally speaking, you want to keep them just outside of your frame, pointed about this far away from your mouth. Great way to go. That one's my Rode. This is my Audio Technica. This right here is kind of the secret sauce. I'm not using it, but in a moment I'm going to demonstrate what you can do. This is a VR1 HD. It basically is a 3-camera switcher, works via HDMI. A couple of things you want to keep in mind. There's probably going to be some things you're going to learn about cables. This is HDMI to mini HDMI. To get this thing to work, you have to use a USB 3 cable. I found out the hard way. There's going to be, again, a little bit of a learning curve for some of this stuff. But this thing is awesome. For example, if I had camera 1, that's this guy. Then when I go over to camera 2, it moves to my B camera here where I point at my little dongle there. And I move back to my A cam, so on and so forth. Very cool to have that sort of control at your fingertips. Very powerful. Okay, this guy, secret sauce. When you're doing video, you start to notice things about sound that you wouldn't normally notice on a Sunday morning. Explosives are when somebody goes, boom. You hear it on Sunday morning, but when you hear it in video, it's really noticeable. If you're using something like an SM58, whether it's a wired or a handheld wireless, you just kind of unscrew the top of those, put one of these in there. We use these at my church. They are awesome. No more explosives. Okay, this guy is a cloud lifter. What does a cloud lifter do? Well, some of the microphones that are out there, like an Shure SM7B, going into a handheld recorder like that, sometimes the level is too low, and like the name implies, the cloud lifter raises the volume. Okay, that gets us to the end of show and tell. Let's talk about the heartbeat. Like many of the people I've spoken with recently, I too have an elderly parent that's at risk from the coronavirus. My mom is 89 years old and lives in a retirement community. But here's the thing. There are some practical things that as believers we can do in spite of what's going on around us. Praying for one another is one of the most powerful things we have at our disposal, and it's something that we can do without ceasing. I just want to encourage you, if some of this stuff is freaking you out, I think we're all a little nervous, but we're going to come out of this, I believe, stronger than the way we went into it. Thanks so much for watching this video, and God bless.